expertise. Honest, reliable, and here to make your real estate journey smooth. Remember, it's Berg Title. Call them at 850-250-2900. That's Berg Title, your partner for a worry-free real estate experience in Panama City and Panama City Beach.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
Paid for by Steel Man Pills. 800-261-7365. 800-261-7365. 800-261-7365. That's 800-261-7365.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the next evolution of sports talk radio. The biggest stories and the biggest reactions.
Now.
And now we're taking
With the first pick.
This is the last ball you got in the bag.
the inside drive. From college to the pros, interviews with the newsmakers, sports betting, your phone calls, and more. And now, the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And good Tuesday morning. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Little chilly start on this official first day of spring. The spring equinox happened a little less than an hour ago, but it certainly feels like a little wintry this morning. But hopefully the last little cold spell. I know Easter's a week from Sunday, so usually we get a little bit of chill right before that Easter time frame, and then it warms up, and then we'll be complaining it's too hot in the summer. So
you're right there, brother.
Enjoy it while you can. That is for sure. But you are listening to the Inside Drive live and local on 104.3 in Panama City Beach, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. You can also watch us and listen on Facebook, X, and YouTube. Just search ESPN Northwest Florida. Download that free mobile app inside the Google Play or the Apple Store. Just search 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Also join us on TikTok. We posted a fun afternoon delight debrief yesterday talking about one of the stories we talked about on last Friday, so you can follow us. Just search Inside Drive there on TikTok. Interact with us. Have some fun content. Jay Henley on the lesson, TJ. I get it. He's got to make money. He had his kids yesterday. Or no, the kids were off yesterday for spring break, but had a lesson. I think he had to sneak in today. But he will be back with us tomorrow. But tomorrow will be our last show of this week, as coming up later in this week, even though the playing games get started tonight, March Madness officially gets kicked off this Thursday. We'll have a slate of 4 games each day, Thursday and Friday. That's going to begin on Thursday. That's the 21st with your first game. That's an 8-9 seed matchup. It's going to be at 11:15, Michigan State versus Mississippi State. And then later on in the afternoon, about 2:10 Central Time, those games are always there's a moving start when you're not the first tip-off of the day. That's Morehead State versus Illinois Illinois. And then 6 p.m. that night, Oakland versus Kentucky. And then the last game right here on ESPN Northwest Florida will be at 8:55 tip-off. Again, you can download our free mobile app or tune in or just listen, wherever you are at ESPNPC.com. And then the following day, Friday, it'll be the first round action getting going. You'll have tip-off again, 11:15. That'll be number 9 seed Northwestern versus number 8 seed FAU, followed by the 2:10 tip-off of New Mexico versus Clemson. And then moving into the evening slate, 6:10 p.m. tip-off, you have the Vermont Catamounts taking on the number 4 Blute Devils. Might have a little upset alert on that one. Go ahead, David.
It's going to be a little different this year. I've been asked to, we're going to throw the Auburn game in there for Friday, so we're going to, I guess so. So we're gonna go away from the coverage of kind of bouncing back between all of the games, and we'll get to the full coverage of the Auburn game, and then we'll bounce back to the Westwood One coverage of keeping up with all the latest and greatest action.
There you go. If I would have read the first little bullet point on here, it says next game is Friday, Auburn versus Yale in the first round, tip-off at, I want to say 3:15. That's got to be, that's Central Time.
3:15 Central
Time. So yes, we'll throw that Auburn game in there on Friday, which I love to hear. And again, Vermont Catamounts versus number Duke. Watch out for those Catamounts. Duke's been playing some not great basketball down the stretch. You never really know what can happen. And then last but not least, on Friday, you'll have TCU at Utah State. That'll be an 8:55 tip-off game, and then throughout the weekend, many more tournament games going on there. I think the poll question today, David, just a simple one, nothing crazy, no Jay Henley-ish. Which start of the season do you like better, spring or fall? With today being the official first day of spring, although it doesn't feel like it, the spring equinox officially happened right here in our time zone at 10:06, almost exactly an hour ago. But which season do you prefer starting, spring or fall? Because there's just you seem to get mixed answers across the board, and I always vote for fall on that one, because fall here to me, you're not dealing with the allergens and much. You're coming out of the warm season, so you've been in a season where you've been able to enjoy the outdoors, and you can enjoy it even more. And it really doesn't start getting cold until you flip into January. So whereas the spring, like we are now, it's still cold. You can have some beautiful days, but then the pollen out there is just absolutely brutal. That is for sure. A couple PSAs for some local stuff going on. Want to give a shout out to for the Lynn Haven Raiders. They've got a cool camp. They're calling it the Battle Camp, coming up on March 23rd. That's this weekend, ages 5 through 14. That's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. They'll have some speed training, strengthening, and doing some college training as well from 9 to 12, and then doing some high school workouts and agility drills and 7-on-7 games from 12:30 to 2. And then, of course, if you're joining the Lynn Haven Ravers, or you're already part of the Lynn Haven Raven organization, you have a parent meeting at 2, followed by fall player evaluations from 2 to 3 p.m. There's an opportunity to check that out. If you just go to their Facebook page or reach out to Coach Mike, he can get you pointed in the right direction. Just wanted to give them a quick shout out there. Looking forward to that. As we talk about NCAA March Madness, you've got to go join the Big Bracket Challenge. I don't see how many people we got signed up. I meant to look a second ago, but if you go to ESPNPC.com, you look at the top of that page, you'll see Big Bracket Challenge. You click on that. If you're already signed up as an ESPN Fantasy Sports, you'll be able to join that group really, really easily. And if you're not, it also just takes just a few minutes. Let's see how many players we have. Oh, this is the baseball league. There's just a lot going on in ESPN groups. ESPN Northwest, 45. We got several sign-ups yesterday. You still got time all the way until that 11:15, right before the 11:15 tip-off, probably before 11 o'clock, I would guess, on Thursday. Get those brackets filled out, and don't second-guess yourself too much. Sometimes your first instincts are always better.
Want to start a woman's one, too?
Okay.
We won't give away any prizes for it because it's not something that we set up for. But last year I got in a few women's one. I want to do another one this year.
Do it. I mean, all you got to do is click a couple buttons, right? And people want to sign up, they sign up.
There you go. So ESPN. Am I too loud?
No, I got to fix it in the break. I got nothing.
Oh, okay. Well, I got you then. I'll just come fix it real quick.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, do that. That'd be fun. It'd be fun to play along with both. I mean, obviously, you've got some pretty heavy favorites on the women's side of college basketball. Yeah, I tried to jiggle it before, but I think I ran out of time. Oop, there we go. I'm almost hear myself again. It's weird when you can't hear yourself. It's weirder than when you can hear yourself. I am golden now. Thank you, Dave. I don't blame Coach Hale for that one. He was the last one sitting in this chair. So, but yes, head over to ESPNPC.com, click that big bracket challenge, and get signed up. We've also just got so much going on. Starting on Monday, hard to believe it's that time again, but we've got another contest for you, and that is going to be the ESPN Northwest Florida presents the Race to Talladega. It felt so long ago, but it's really not. Starting this Monday, coming up next week, March 25th, join Coach Hale in the morning at 7:15 and 8:15 to enter the race. And then at 12:15 here on the Inside Drive and 4:15 on the Afternoon Underdogs, if we announce your name, race to the phone. If we do call your name, the quickest time you get back into the station will be your qualifying time, and the fastest person will win a pair of tickets up there to Talladega for the Geico 500. Your qualifying time, you'll get the chance to win a choice prize immediately, but then the fastest one will get you the incredible Talladega Garage experience. Your prize might include passes to the racing doubleheader. Lots of cool stuff going on. That's going to run all the way till April 12th. For more information on the Race to Talladega, go to ESPNPC.com. And also looking forward, we'll have Talladega race president on the line with us next Monday at 11:20. And I think we're going to let Jay run that interview and have a little fun on that one. So looking forward to that. That is for sure. A couple other fun things that I just saw announced, and we've talked about the quarterback series with Netflix last year. But just this morning, Adam Scheffler reported that Netflix is excited to announce a new series. Don't know when it's dropping yet, but I'm going to guess sometime about a month before the season starts, just like the quarterback series did last year. But they are expanding on that with the same production team that led quarterback. That's going to be Receivers. It's going to follow these pass catchers from the 2023-2024 season: Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's scheduled to be done by NFL Films, Omaha Productions, which is part of Peyton Manning's company he has there, and 2 PM Productions. It's all the same group behind last year's quarterback series. And if you watched that last year and you enjoyed that, I'm certainly looking forward to Receiver, other than when we get to the end of the season when the Niners lose the Super Bowl.
Oh, but I mean, it's nice to have a little insight into that, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
relive the heartbreak.
That's it. The heartbreak. But I just love these behind the scenes stuff for these guys, because you really learn a lot more about who they are, more so than who they just are on the football field.
Right. I mean, being able to see the personal side of these athletes that a lot of people think, oh man, especially young kids, because they're still, starting to get into the world, but all these professional athletes just have everything going their way and whatnot. And there's a lot of real life things that happen to them, and they have to keep their focus, as we all do, whenever it comes time to go to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just because they're getting paid tens of millions of dollars to play a game doesn't mean they have all the don't have the same problems we have. That is for sure. March Madness, I guess you could say it does officially get kicked off tonight. Tonight and tomorrow, we've got 2 games on to see who's going to be dropping into the official bracket of the 64. That starts tonight. That'll be on True TV at 5:40 our time. That first playing game will be Howard versus Wagner, and then following that game, 8:10 Central Time tip-off, you'll have Virginia versus Colorado State. And then tomorrow, again, you'll have on True TV at 5:40 Montana State versus Grambling. And then following that game at 8:10 tip-off, you'll have Boise State versus Colorado. All those teams trying to make it into the 64, where they can go on and play a really, really, really difficult opponent. But a lot of good guests on the show today. We got coming up at 11:20, Doc A. Steve Alexander will be joining us. I think it's about that time. If you're doing NBA fantasy playoffs, it's time. It's happening now as the season's winding down. They got to get it in. I want to get his thoughts, as he is got a lot of new articles out there on ESPN, as well as RotoWire or RotoWorld, one of the two that he's putting out there on who to do. And I want to ask him too about that dunk last night that was just absolutely ridiculous. Another posterizing dunk, pretty impressive there. Anthony Edwards going over John Collins against the Jazz, and I was going to ask him if he had seen any in person or stuff like that. And then coming up at 12:20, we'll have Alan Sandage joining us. He's going to break down the best wide receivers coming up in the 2020 draft, because as we continue to progress each week in the NFL, even though they're not playing, more and more free agency signings happening, different things going on, players moving around, and that kind of putting all the puzzle pieces or the wheels in motion, as you could say, on what we're looking at for who's going to go where. So anxious to get his opinions on all that good stuff. Also just announced, and might be, I'm just going to try to read this as easy as I can, but it's close to the Masters when they've officially put out what John Rahm's Masters dinner will be on Tuesday night. If you don't know, every Tuesday night of Masters Week, which happens to be April 9th this year, former winners and the previous tournament year's winner gets to host the dinner. It's kind of ironic that it's the Live Tour golfer hosting the dinner, so that'll certainly be interesting, but it's just a tradition that's been going on since it's been around, and he seems to be bringing his food of his home country, Spain, to the Masters dinner, as it's the whole menu is in Spanish, but they do have it translated.
Read it.
I should. Tapos and pincios, that's basically, your appetizers and stuff like that. You've got Ibericos, it's a corn-fed Iberian ham, cured pork loin, and then I'm probably pronouncing these terribly, but chistrosa con patata, it's a spicy Basque chorizo potato. That sounds actually pretty good. And then you got Idizabal con trufa negra, which is Izabal cheese with black truffle. And then you got lentejas estafadas, that's Mama Rahm's classic lentil stew. So giving a recipe to the chefs there at Augusta National from his mom back in Spain. That's pretty cool. And then tortilla de patatas, that's a Spanish omelet with onions and confit potatoes. And then croqueta de pollo, that's creamy chicken fritters with confit potatoes. That's all your first course there. A lot of good options there to choose from. And then then there's another one, which the salad that goes, it's ensalado, and then it's TXAN gorro. So we'll just go with Zangoro, and that's Basque crab salad with potato. All right, here's your main course. This is you've got a choice. You've got chuletón a la paella, which is a Basque ribeye with tudela lettuce and piquillo peppers, or a rodaballo al pilpil, which is a turbot, which I don't, or tubro, I don't know what that is, and then it says Navarro white asparagus. So a lot of interesting dishes in this one. If you go back a couple years with Dustin Johnson's Masters dinner, it was a little simpler than this. And then your dessert is mil hojas del crema y nata, which is a puff pastry cake, custard, and chantilly cream, all served in honor of John Rahm.
There you go. There you go.
So if you know any of that is
fancy to me.
It does sound fancy.
I'm not normally the fancy stuff. Maybe I'm just judging too much here, but the fancy stuff just got a lot of words and not enough food.
Yeah, I don't know. The chefs there at Augusta National, they'll certainly make it a good thing. Do you think, with him he was on the PGA Tour last year when he won the Masters. Now he's now on the Live Tour, and he's the defending Masters champion. Do you think, with these guys in the Masters champions here, do you think there'll be any kind of animosity, or do you think we're kind of getting past that a little bit, where these guys will all just be able to put things aside, go in those closed doors, and just have a good dinner?
I think it depends on how thick that line in the sand Rory has drawn. I think.
Well, Rory doesn't get to be at the dinner because he has yet to win the Masters. So.
Oh, so yeah, neither here nor there then, huh?
Yep. Absolutely.
I think that these guys are kind of getting over, especially when you're in a setting like this where it's not about anything other than being a champion of the Masters. So you almost put down your Live jacket, you put down your PGA Tour card or whatever, and it's all about the green jackets at that point. So I don't think that there's going to be any animosity from this, and but it is wild, like the latest defector, if you will,
is the defending master hosting the Masters dinner.
Yeah, I love it though. I think it's great for storyline.
Yeah, you can't make up that kind of parody, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, the Masters dinner, it's just one of the traditions, like the par 3 contest and skipping over the water on 16, and that's just what makes, I think, in my opinion, the Masters tournament. There's 4 great majors on the golf, pro golf. I can't even even call it on the PGA Tour. It has nothing to do with the PGA Tour. But I just think the Masters traditions are what makes it the best major out of the four, for sure. Obviously, it's a small field as well, but you've just got so many of these little things. And now with the Augusta National Women's Amateur, that they just think this is their 4th or 5th year doing it. They've been doing the drive, chip, and putt on that Sunday for all the kids that the national championship goes. I mean, how cool to be a 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 14, 15-year-old going to Augusta National the Sunday before the Masters and competing on the 18 green and the driving range.
Oh, yeah, man. Dream come true for sure.
That's it.
And I think that it's the first one out of the gate. You get those 2 tournaments that are pretty, I don't know what we have between now and the Masters, but with the Arnold Palmer Invitational and then the Players Championship, and that one even kind of considered the 5th Masters or the 5th major.
Yeah.
But, so it kind of starts getting you hungry for golf, and then there's not more ideal conditions in the game of golf. We've seen the Masters been played in September or whenever it was.
Yeah, I think it was November that one year. That was actually the year DJ won it, yeah.
Yeah, so being played late in the year, and the course just, it's just not the same. So, yeah, there's something that separates the Masters from everything else. I wish that those 4 majors would come together and figure out a way to forget about PIF being the merger. Let the majors come together and figure out what it is that we need to do to unite the golf tours.
Yeah, and that would pretty much, if that happened, because of the governing bodies of those particular majors. Obviously, the Masters is governed by the board of directors there at Augusta National. The U.S. Open's the USGA, the Open Championship, British Open, whatever you want to call it, that's the RNA, and then the PGA Championship is run by the PGA of America. So if you essentially, like what you just said, got them all together, you're essentially getting the top governing bodies in the sport together as well, taking aside the LIV Tour board and commission and taking away the PGA Tour, because those are kind of separate from this entire thing. But yeah, I think there's got to have to be something that gives here pretty soon. And I know if we get to it later today, if we have time, there was a meeting down there in the Bahamas earlier this week where Tiger Woods reportedly was playing golf and did happen, was playing golf and holding a meeting with the Saudi PIF Governor Yasir Al-Rahman in Albany in the Bahamas. So they played a little golf, and maybe they're figuring something out, or maybe it's just all a spectacle.
Yeah.
And Tiger just wanted to play golf with him, and nothing's going to come out of it.
Or he said, look, I see y'all got all those teams over there. They would look really good in some Sunday red.
Ooh, that's what hey, I like that. This has nothing to do with the merger. This just has 100% to do with Tiger trying to make Sunday red the official apparel of LIV Golf.
There you go,
hey,
man.
Bridging gaps.
Bridging gaps. One piece of apparel at a time.
One piece of interesting apparel at a time. But yes, a lot going on there in the golf world, of course. And it's about that time. When we get back, we'll be joined by Doc A. He joins us every Tuesday to talk about NBA fantasy action, NBA action in general. And he's always got some big fun story for us. So we're looking forward to talking with him in the next segment. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
Your home for college basketball. ESPN Northwest Florida.
March Madness is here. The NCAA Men's College Basketball Championship starts today with First Four. It's Wagner versus Howard, tip-off at 5:30, followed by Colorado State versus Virginia at 8. It's tournament time, and we have the most live play-by-play on the Panhandle.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Tuesday's weather. This afternoon and evening there will be a gentle breeze out of the west, sunshine and 62. Clear skies tonight, a little colder at 49. Tomorrow, sunny and a light breeze right around 5 miles per hour with a high of 66. About the same at 70 Thursday, and we'll have some clouds most of the day except a very low chance of sprinkles in the evening. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. We invite you to stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new 2024 Kia. You'll see why everyone is talking about Kia. The 2024 Kia will give you the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. The SUV family has movement that inspires. Drive away today in a new 2024 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, or Telluride. Fuel the thrill and command the road in a luxury sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a new 2024 Kia K5. Performance, power, and design built just for you. Discover the new Kia at Bill Bird Kia. Bill Bird Kia, the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you just like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust. Your local community dealer is Bill Bird Kia.
The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty.
The only place to get sports betting coverage on the radio. Is this legal? Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. It's the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. It's Tuesday. It's 11:20 here in the Central Time Zone. So that means we've got Steve Alexander, but known to us, Doc A. 20-plus years after writing at RotoWorld, now writes all things fantasy for ESPN and RotoWire. In recent inductee into the Fantasy Sports Writers Hall of Fame, class of 29, and of course a self-proclaimed Golden Tee and a golf hack. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing fantastic. We're doing fantastic. Hope you are as well. And let's jump right into it. Obviously, I've been actually trying to pay attention to what you put out there and reading a little bit of your articles. But for most people that play NBA fantasy basketball, playoffs are underway right now?
Yeah, it's the first week for most of us. And then I'm in this insane 30-team league where we draft basically every player in the league, and we start like 6 guys, and it's incredibly deep. It's called 30 deep, and the final 4 is me, Rick Kamla, who I do a Thursday podcast with every Thursday at RotoWire. We've been friends for 20 something years. He's my mentor in the industry. My boss at ESPN, Joe Kaiser, is in the final 4 with me, and then Dan Besbris, who works with Aaron Brewski, who was a longtime collaborator with me back in the day, and I'm also a good friend of his podcast. He's the other 4th guy. So we've got 4 brothers going at it in this league. There's no money involved, but it's the one all of us want to win because it's literally one of the hardest basketball. Well, it's one of the hardest fantasy leagues in the world to win because you got to beat 29 other people to win it.
Phew, man, and it must be some truth to the fact that you guys know what you're talking about if out of 30 people, you guys are in the final 4.
Well, it's all industry people. It's all people in the fantasy sports industry, and it's full of guys who know what they're doing. And I'm not going to lie, the only reason I'm there and the only reason I'm relevant is I have a guy named Victor Wembanyama on that team. I took him, I think, with the 16th pick. And he brought me back from the abyss last Sunday when he had 31 points, 15 boards, 7 blocks, and 7 assists. Phew. And I was playing against the guy who had Nikola Jokic, and when we took him down, got me the final 4.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, because would you say that taking him 16th in the draft was a little bit of a gamble early on, really not knowing exactly what he would bring to the table?
Yeah, I mean, it was a gamble, but I was so fired up about Victor Wembanyama, and I wasn't scared about him getting hurt, even though he's as skinny as a beanpole. I just had faith that he was gonna have a good year, and really, I mean, he's having an incredible year. I mean, as far as rookie seasons go, what Wembanyama has done is nothing short of remarkable. He's the 7th overall rated fantasy basketball player in the entire league right now.
Whew, man.
Number 7.
That's
I mean, if you have Wembanyama on your team, and I have 2 teams that can win a title, and they're both kind of favorites to win a title, I think. And Victor Wembanyama is on both of those teams.
There you go. There's the common denominator there. I'm sure he's probably going to go a little earlier, maybe next year in the drafts. That's what it sounds like for sure. So
he will be going number 1 overall.
There you go. Book it now. So with the kind of, and I've read it, you kind of call it the silly season this time of year because you got the teams that are pretty much locked in for the playoffs, maybe resting some of the players and stuff like that. But if you're trying to win an NBA Fantasy League championship, what are some of the things you really need to pay attention to this week coming up?
Well, it's different this year because guys and teams who are out of the playoff hunt are generally shutting all their big names down at this point of the year. And then you have these guys coming out of nowhere, like Delano Blanton in Portland is playing really well. And you've got a guy named Taylor Hendricks playing well for Utah. And you've got George Niang playing well for Cleveland. And you have some weird stuff going on. Karis LeVert is suddenly like a great pickup for Cleveland. He had a huge game last night for them. Donovan Mitchell didn't play. Drew Holiday sat out for Boston, so Peyton Pritchard started at point guard. He was a good pickup. Derek White had a triple-double. He was a good pickup. So there's still lots of guys you can pick up off of waiver wire in your fantasy hoops league right now that will help you in these playoffs. You just have to be savvy and ready and go find them and get them in your lineup as soon as you can. But there's a lot of silly season heroes out there, and it's fun when you pick up a guy that a lot of people haven't even really heard of, and he goes off, and then you look kind of smart.
Yeah, there you go. So is it this week coming up through Sunday? Is that your semifinal matchup in the 30 deep league?
Yep. I'm playing against Joe from ESPN. We'll play till Sunday night, and then whoever wins moves on to the final. There's a chance it's going to be me against Rick Kamla in the final game. And Rick Kamla, when he moved to Atlanta in 2006, he was having trouble finding a place to stay, and he ended up moving into my house for about 4 months. So we have been roommates, we have been best buddies, we've been coworkers, we've been podcast hosts, we've been fraternity brothers. We've had a long history together, and if he and I meet up in the finals next week, it's going to be awesome. Rick Kamla has a radio show on NBA radio on Sirius every day in the afternoon right now. And then he used to work for NBA TV, and he was on TV all the time and had a fantasy basketball show on NBA TV like way back in the day in like 2003, before anybody was doing fantasy sports on TV. So he's one of the OGs. I'm one of the OGs. We are the OGs.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, just like you said, it's everybody in the industry, but it seems like the OGs have got the knowledge and still with the new world we live in know how to make it all work. That's for sure.
Yes.
So just real quick, just want to ask you, because I know you've been going to NBA games a long time and been following NBA forever. And obviously last night, one of the talks of the game was Anthony Edwards doing that posterizing dunk over John Collins, and people have just been talking about it. It was pretty ridiculous. And even Anthony Edwards said he didn't think he was going to make it to the rim because he was so far away. But are there some that kind of come to mind for you in your history of maybe being at a game where one just kind of sticks out in your mind, or some other ones that may, obviously that was a pretty special one. I don't know if it's the best of all time because it's hard to say stuff about like that, but just watching Anthony Edwards also scoring 32 points last night was pretty impressive.
Well, first of all, the fact that he's got the number 1 dunk of the year, in which he actually hurt John Collins because he threw it down on his head so hard. And then he dislocated his finger when he did it, and he just popped it back into place, put some tape on it, and got back out there and kept going. So he's got the number 1 dunk of the year. He's also got that defensive chase down block he had against the Pacers a couple weeks ago, which is the best defensive play I've seen all year. And the fact that his team is a half game out of first place in the West, and you never hear his name for MVP, I feel like Anthony Edwards is being disrespected, and he kind of reminds me of Eric Cartman right now. He's like, you will respect my authority. So Edwards is just a man. As far as things I've seen live and in person, I was at the dunk contest in Indianapolis in '85 with Dominique beat Jordan. That's up there on my list of things I've seen. I was at the Pacers playoff game against the Bulls when Reggie Miller pushed off of Michael Jordan and hit a three to take the lead, and Market Square Arena just exploded. And that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen live, even though I was at the very top of the arena for that one. But those, as far as a couple things that stick out, and then watching Dr. J on TV, he had one dunk where he came down and threw it down from the side, and then he had another play where he went under the basket and did this crazy floating reverse shot back in the 80s that was something like none of us had ever seen anyone do before. And then, of course, the Daryl Dawkins broken backboards right around that time as well.
Nice.
Those were things that just blew my mind as a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it seems they continue to kind of push the needle and push the needle and push the needle, and you kind of have these cycles of things that you remember, and all the kids now that are 10, 11, 12 years old, I'm sure they'll be talking about that Anthony Edwards dunk for years to come. That's for sure. Obviously, we got a little big thing coming up here soon in college basketball, not NBA, obviously, but a little known thing is March Madness, and just wanted to get your thoughts on who you thought would be a good national championship pick.
I can talk to you about brackets. I cannot tell you who's going to win because I have not looked at my bracket yet. I run a bracket pool here in my little town. I think the first year we did it, we had like 14 entries. We're old school. You have to fill out a paper bracket. You have to hand me a $10 bill. I'm not doing Venmo. I'm not doing PayPal. We're not doing this on Google or Yahoo or anywhere else. We're doing it
OG bracket.
Old school with paper. Last year we had 125 paper brackets. This year I'm expecting about 175. So really when Sunday selection show happens, we go and print off 150 brackets, and then I spend the next 2 days driving around town just handing them out and delivering them to people. And we've got a little central location where everybody turns them in. And then Thursday morning from 10 to 12, we kind of do the financial calculations and get everybody's bracket set up. And then I spend the next month of my life mired in paperwork.
Updating scores and points. And
and I think I spend about 30 to 40 hours on these things when that happens. And because we're not electronic, I send out this email after every round.
That's technically electronic.
And I list everybody's team and everybody's points, and then I make fun of everybody, or at least comment on everybody's team and everybody's picks. And that email seems to be a huge hit, and that's the reason we keep doing it that way. So it's a labor of love. I'll fill out my brackets probably tomorrow night. Wednesday night, I'll dive in, fill out the brackets, and I'll be able to tell you next week who I think is going to win. But right now, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's fair. And that was cool to find out about the 175 brackets, doing them by hand. That's intense. That is intense, especially keeping up with everybody and keeping up with their points and all that stuff. But I could only imagine what some of the examples of those emails look like, especially if some crazy picks. And
I walk around with a pen protector in my pocket, a folder, and an envelope and a bank bag, and I'm just one of those green visors,
Nice, the poker visors, yeah.
And a cigar hanging out of my mouth. Yeah, it's people see me coming and they know. Nice. They better get their $10 bill ready.
I can imagine a van like in the movie Old School where they're driving around throwing the guys in there, driving around,
kidnapping people and getting their brackets.
Yep. No.
And this is funny too, because a bartender at the Legion here, his name is Stu, and he got me last year because I didn't know him very well, and he filled out a bracket, And when I got this bracket, he had only written down the number of the seed that he wanted to advance. So it was like 1, 14, 7, 12, 22. I just numbers. And he told me yesterday, he goes, hey, I'm going to fill this out right now. I'm just going to cheat and put numbers in there.
You're like, the hell you are.
You're the guy. The hell you are. You put numbers on there, I'm giving it right back to you. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, I used to do a really big masters pool at one of the clubs I worked at. Now, I used an Excel spreadsheet, but everybody filled out a paper because you picked, top players. I put the players into groups, and you had to do all that, and you had the scoring and all that, and I built this spreadsheet. I would always get one or two people, instead of writing down the player's name, they would write down the number of that player's picks. And I was like, there's always got to be one that, because we used to get up to about 150 at the club I was at, because it was just a lot of fun. I would send out an email update every night because we were so busy during Masters Week up there anyway. So I was at the club pretty much that entire week. But it also reminds me of when somebody turns in a scramble scorecard, instead of writing the numbers down, they write the slash, the plus, or the -1 instead of writing their score. So you've got to assume that they're putting a par, bogey, or a birdie, and then it's just there's always one. There's always one in a large group, no doubt about that.
You're better than this.
Exactly. We need good.
The sponsor of my podcast that I just did on RotoWire, which is available, I'm going to tweet it out here in a minute when we're done, is a thing called SmartBracket.io, and it sounds like it's pretty cool. It's got some AI in it. It's got algorithms in it. Like, they will tell you who to pick, and it looks like it's really good. So SmartBracket.io. Check that out when you fill out your bracket, and maybe you'll win some money.
There you go, a little inside information. And what's cool is David and the Afternoon Underdogs, they're doing this cool thing, and hopefully I'm not spoiling it if you've already announced it, but one of the guys on his show is going to bet $1 on every underdog in every game for the entire tournament and see where that kind of shakes out. Because I think it's what, David, we said like 64 or something like that is the total amount of games going all the way through the national championship, something close to that.
Yeah, I think with the first 4, we were at like 66 or something like that. Yeah.
So, I mean, the most you could lose is $66, but if you maybe hit a couple, so there's going to be upsets. There's no doubt about it. It's just how big it is. So I think it's a pretty cool experiment that they're doing to see how that all plays out, and anxious to see, because that's actually kind of fun. It takes a lot of time, obviously, not as much time as you collecting all those brackets and doing that, but thought that was
Get your typewriter ready.
Yeah, exactly. Thought that was a pretty cool thing to see going on. But
well, 5's going to be to 12. 3's probably going to be to 13 at some point. 14. It should be. There should be plenty of upsets, and those will pay more money. So
yep.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if you actually make a little bit of money or you lose money, and see where it all comes out there. But getting close to the end of our time, Doc. Anything on the docket tonight that you are looking at and betting, and maybe some players for your fantasy?
I have not had a chance to look at that yet. My 30-team league is all I really care about right now. I got De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, the point guard for the Kings, is on that team. Victor Wembanyama, Austin Reeves. I've got some really good players on that team. So I'm just, and in fact, I'm so excited about it and so nervous about it, I can't even really watch the games at this point. So I haven't looked ahead. Dallas plays San Antonio tonight. So we got Wemby versus Luka Doncic. Guess what I'm going to be watching? I'm going to be watching Wemby versus Luka at 8 o'clock.
Absolutely. That's could be the make or break of you moving to that championship in your fantasy 30 deep there. And then you got another good one, 8 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone. The Nuggets and the Timberwolves are going to be on NBA TV. But Doc,
and don't forget your Orlando Magic. They're 7-3 over their last 10.
That's right. They are on fire. That's for sure. But we appreciate.
They play Charlotte. They're going to get in their dub.
There you go. Right. Make it 8-3 and getting that playoff push. But we appreciate your time. Hopefully, when we talk to you next week, we'll be previewing your championship matchup in your 30 deep NBA fantasy league. There, Doc. Have a great rest of your day.
We can only hope. You guys have a great day.
We'll be cheering for you, that's for sure. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. When we get back, me and David are going to dive into NCAA March Madness.
Your home for college basketball, ESPN Northwest Florida.
March March Madness is here. The NCAA Men's College Basketball Championship starts today with First Four. It's Wagner versus Howard, tip-off at 5:30, followed by Colorado State versus Virginia at 8. It's tournament time, and we have the most live play-by-play on the Panhandle.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
If you spend any time at all in your yard, you're going to encounter fire ants.
We know they can ruin a party. That's why we're this area's experts at fire ant elimination.
As your certified top choice professional, we will rid your yard of these unwanted invaders. Brock Pest is so sure they will get rid of fire ants that they offer a 1-year guarantee.
Enjoy your yard fire ant free. We guarantee it. Give us a call for your free consultation.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control, our family protecting yours since 1968.
Getting your biggest tax refund from Jackson Hewitt can lead to some spirited reactions.
Jackson Hewitt!
Jackson Hewitt is so sure they'll get you your biggest refund that if they don't, you get your money back plus $100.
Jackson Hewitt!
Switch to Jackson Hewitt and we'll beat what you paid last year, even if you filed online. Ain't nothing to it. Switch to Jackson Hewitt and pay less for tax prep, guaranteed. Proof of prior year payment required when filing. New clients only at participating locations through April 7th. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
You hear it first. Sports talk right now. Back to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey.
I know it seems a bit overwhelming at first.
Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios.
Something makes me think you'll get used to it.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. I just love that the fact that I can just picture Doc A and all these just longtime NBA guys in this 30-deep fantasy league. Just the trash talking and the fun that they got to be having. You know, being working together for so long, and you know we're young. We've been doing fantasy for a little while, but to have that kind of longevity with a group of people that you're in the industry with, it's just got to be really fun.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, they take it all the way back to the newspaper days, I'm sure. So that's got to be a lot of fun camaraderie, a lot of good trash talk as well, and a lot of, probably some needling when someone doesn't set their lineup the correct way.
I would hope so, because I mean it seems like that's what all these guys live in and they're experts in, is they've been talking fantasy NBA really before fantasy NBA was a big thing. So it's be interesting to see. I hope he makes it to the finals. That way we can talk a little bit about it tomorrow. But no money on the line. It's purely when you got those type of people that are experts in their industry. I'm sure just winning that is worth way more than any kind of money they could win in that particular bracket.
Oh yeah, man! Talk about the bragging rights that come along with that. That's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
we are up to 50.
Up to 50.
Yeah, so let's keep it rolling in, man.
That's good. We picked up another 5 since we've been rocking and rolling today. So yeah, get in there. What David's talking about is the Big Bracket Challenge presented by ESPN Northwest Florida. Got lots of other good sponsors doing away some prizes and cashes, but if you just go to ESPNPC.com, you look at the top of the page, you click list, or you click the Big Bracket Challenge. It'll take you right to the link and sign up. We appreciate it's Panama City Toyota, Pepsi, PCB Hobby sponsoring that, along with ESPN Northwest Florida. All you got to do is click on that and sign up. And you want to get in? Because if you do well, you can call us here on the Inside Drive and talk trash. Hopefully Jay gets in a bracket sometime soon. He'll be back with us on the show tomorrow. Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe.
We find out things last minute, but that's okay. He keeps us on our toes here on the Inside Drive. All right, some fun facts here, or some statistical things we'd like to dive into today. Well, I say we like to dive into data. Keith certainly does, and a lot of our regular guests look into the analytics and data, but we're going to jump into some of that. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, but since 1985, and I'm using some graphics here from USAtoday.com, the 152 teams seeded number 1 in the 38 tournaments since 1985, they have gone a whopping 150-2. meaning there's only been 2 number 1 seeds that have been upset since 1985, which was 38 years ago. So 99% of the number 1 seeds win in the first round.
Oh, yeah, Virginia and Purdue. And Virginia, when they lost the next year, they bounced back, won the
national
title.
Championship.
Could it be the year for Purdue? I don't think so.
No, I agree with you there. But, so, do you gamble? That's such a big gamble because it's really not worth it in the bracket, in my opinion, because it's worth 1 game.
Yeah.
So if you happen to have that number 1 seed lose, there's a good chance that probably everybody else in whatever bracket you're in also picked that number 1 seed to win. So you're not really losing anything unless you did pick that team to win the national championship.
Well, yeah, but so with each round that you get people moving on, you get more points. So if you lose that number 1 seed early on and everyone else is got them going, let's say to the Elite Eight or to the Final Four, then you're missing out on a lot of points there. Because I've thought that way too about, hey, if I get it right, no one else is getting it right, but then also at the same time, I'm losing out when they move on each round. So it's a gamble.
It is. It's a gamble, and statistically, don't take it according to what we're talking about here. And then number 2 seeds, again, this is since 1985, 38 years of NCAA tournament history. The number 2 seed has won 141 games and lost only 11. That's a 93% winning percentage there. So still pretty stout on that one. But 11 2 seeds have lost in those 38 years. So not quite every other year, but about 33% of the time there's been a number 2 seed lose.
Well, and a 15 seed has won a first round game in each of the past 3 tournaments. So
ooh, trending.
And there's just something about that St. Peter's, Tennessee game that's got me.
I know it. Bottom right corner of your bracket, just hanging out there saying, hey, pick St. Peter's, pick St. Peter's.
I'm like, I've got I'm in the middle of making my my integrity bracket, the one that I'm going to ride with. Yeah. And then I'll get into all of the sort of fun ways to do that. Do you think that it's imperative or do you even worry about the first 4 games?
No. Because I think, because it's what, 16 seeds and 10 seeds in both of them?
Yeah.
So that 10 seed, the 10-7 matchup could certainly be an interesting one for sure. Who are we looking at the 7 seeds? So in the 2 play-in games, you're going to have...
You got Boise State and Colorado. They'll be taking on Florida. That's in the top right quadrant.
Yeah, and Colorado had a good Pac-12 championship tournament. So, Florida plays well, but they kind of did, and they lost their big man, the 7'1" guy with the compound fracture. So there could be a potential upset there. And then what's the other one? You've got they'll be playing Texas, the winner of the Virginia-Colorado State game on that side. And then,
yeah.
And who do we got over here? Because there's 4 playing.
So they're both on the right side.
Yeah, and then the 16 seeds are on the on that side as well, or on the other side as well. I think the 16 seeds you don't worry about. You may have to think about the 10 seed a little bit.
If it's Virginia...
Yeah, absolutely.
That one, I think if Virginia beats Colorado State, that could have me second guessing.
Okay, so Colorado State wins, you're riding with
Longhorns 100% sure. But still though, didn't Colorado and Colorado State here for a reason, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird that they do the 10 seeds as the other playing game.
It should be all 16 seeds.
Because it started with just 2 playing games, didn't it? And then they expanded it to 4.
Yeah, just like the college football playoff is expanded to 14. We haven't even played a game in the 12-team playoff.
Exactly. We're just ahead. If we could just get our roads to be like that, would be even better. But
there we go.
But yeah, you got 4 16 spots. Why not they all be 16? And maybe it's the way it shakes out with the automatic bids and all that stuff for winning your conference championship, because there's so many different ways to certainly get into the tournament. But
a lot of different ways to skin a cat.
Oh, it's kind of your thing.
Yeah.
Get you a shirt. Have a cattail on the back of it.
Instead of wearing a DJ Davy Crockett
raccoon hat. There you go. We'll get you a cat hat.
Oh, boy. Could you imagine the blowback from that?
No, raccoons, there's no problem with the raccoon, but if it's a cat,
A lot less people have it. There are people who have raccoons
Absolutely.
as pets, but there's a lot less people who have raccoons as pets than
Let's
cats.
just say it was a stray cat that was not belong to anybody, and you were doing it a favor by helping it out. It was suffering, and you just decided to turn it into a hat.
I know this real cool bridge. You would love it. It's called the Rainbow Bridge.
Let me help you cross it. I really need to keep my head warm.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's an interesting one there we just went down.
Yes.
Almost like Jay's here.
Yeah, it is.
All right, getting to the number 3 versus the number 14 seed. Not a huge difference in percentages. The number of games won by the 14 are double compared to the number 2 seeds. 86% of the number 3 seeds go on to win their first round matchup. Since 1985, you're looking at 130 victories to 22 losses. So starting to get up there a little bit more. And there's a couple of these. This is just one I've been kind of thinking about, and I got to find it quickly. Vermont and Duke. I mentioned it earlier, and Duke's one of the Blue Bloods. Had a great season, kind of faltered down the way, and didn't have a great tournament. But I've seen Vermont, the Catamounts, make some noise before in this NCAA tournament. That's one of those ones that can certainly add to that 22, in my humble opinion. Is there any other ones on there, David, that you think? You got Kansas and McNeese, or Kansas and Samford, not Stanford. Samford playing each other in the Midwest bracket, and then on the Western side of things, you've got 14-3. You've got Colgate at Baylor. I know you're going to say no on that one, and then Morehead State and the Fighting Illini.
See, Illinois' offense is so strong, but Morehead State's got a good defense. So if there's one that I kind of glance at, it would be that one, and then Kentucky and Oakland, maybe. But I think Kentucky's loss should propel them at least into the second round. But 3 seeds since 2017, 3 seeds are 23-1 in this matchup. So only one upset in the last 6 years?
In the last recent time, so a lot more in the earlier on. Yeah, you could see Kentucky winning that game against Oakland and then going down to a Texas Tech or NC State team. It's right around the corner, that's for sure. All right, dropping to the number 4 seed versus the 13 matchup. 79% of the time, your 4 seed wins that one. So we're starting to get a little down there here a little bit, and you've had 32 losses compared to 120 wins over the last 38 years. So 120 and 32 in that one. Going to the number 5 seed to the 12 seed, where there's going to be some upsets, as this has only been 65% of the times in the last 38 years.
Real quick on 13-4, at least one number 13 seed has beaten a number 4 seed in 27 of the last 38 tournaments.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically, if you follow trends,
there's a chance.
There's a 13 seed that's likely going to win one of those games potentially.
Just let it not be Charleston.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But get to the 5 and 12 seeds. Again, only 65% of the time they win that first round matchup. Still good percentage wise, but 53 losses in the last 38 years have plagued number 5 seeds against those 12 seeds. And those matchups in the first round in the South region, you've got Wisconsin at James Madison. I think a lot of people could see JMU upsetting. I think JMU's only lost a few games or something like that. 3 games this year. Yeah. So they're used to winning, that's for sure. Wisconsin had a decent run in the Big Ten championship, but according to some people, those championship conference tournaments don't matter. Swinging down to the Midwest region on the 5 and 12 matchup, you've got Gonzaga at McNeese State. I know David Hayes likes McNeese in that one as well.
Oh, not yet. Not yet. Just that's the one that when I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, which direction do I go? Which direction? But I think I'm starting to be sold on James Madison over Wisconsin.
Yeah, that seems like a decent one for sure. I'm going to have to go back and dive into my brackets again.
Oh, yeah.
Shouldn't even talk about this. but yeah, man, and Gonzaga.
All of the talk right now is objective, though.
That's true.
And then once 11 a.m. on Thursday, it's like, now you are locked in.
We can't change anything. Yeah. But yeah, and does Gonzaga make a run from the 5 seed? Used to be in that 1 and 2 spot. Had a little bit of a down year this year. Lost their conference championship. Or is this motivation that they're going to play better, or is it just a year that they're not doing as well as they normally do? Swinging over to the West bracket, you've got number 5 seed St. Mary's versus Grand Canyon. I think St. Mary's is got a good advantage in that one. I don't know anything about Grand Canyon, so I really can't speak on that one. And then last but not least, in the East bracket, you have San Diego State against the University of Alabama Birmingham, with with the winner of that game playing the winner of Auburn and Yale.
Yeah, I would love to see UAB make that run. I think that's going to be tough for them. That St. Mary's Grand Canyon game could be interesting. Grand Canyon has a little bit of a better offensive output, whereas St. Mary's only giving up 58.7 points per game.
Dang.
So that's something to monitor there. I believe St. Mary's beat Gonzaga in the the WCC.
Yes, they won, and I think it was 4 years ago when they won it as well. So it's been Gonzaga's tournament to win most. And a lot of people are saying they need to get Gonzaga and St. Mary's over there with playing with Oregon State and Washington State.
Yeah,
getting them going because there's some good teams over there. I know.
Or we just smarten up and we keep all of these conferences the same in basketball, baseball, swimming, tennis, golf. Yeah, exactly.
It makes sense to me. It would be a lot simpler for the travel of the rest of these programs. I know we only got about a minute left in this segment, and depending on how many Afternoon Delight debrief stories we have, we may jump back into it. But getting to that 6th and 11 matchup, you're starting to get real close now, where it's only a 62% winning percentage, 94 to 58 in that one. And the 61% very close as well with the 7 and 10 seeds, 93 and 59. What's pretty wild is, I'll stop with this one before we go to a break. So the 8 and 9 matchup, the 9 seed actually holds the advantage in win-loss record, as 8 seeds win 49% of the time. They're 74 and 78. So there's been 4 more number 9 seeds that have won the 8-9 matchup than there has been 8 and 9 seeds. So that one's pretty much a coin flip. So you can probably figure that one out. We'll dive in.
And they're 13 of 20 in the past 5 tournaments.
Ooh. Bet those 9 seeds. Take the 9 seeds. You heard it here first on the Inside Drive. When we get back, it'll be that time. We'll switching over the afternoon. We'll have some Afternoon Delight debrief stories. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents
Wrestling Against Cancer, number 9.
Saturday, April 27th at Bayhaven Charter Academy. In the main event, it's a tag team showdown with Exodus versus Mike Steele and Mr. 850. Then, Callie Mann and Kelly Clark in the Wrestling Against Cancer Championship bout. Plus, exciting women's wrestling. Doors open at 5:30. Bell time 6:30.
More information, ESPNPC.com.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Tuesday's weather. This afternoon and evening there will be a gentle breeze out of the west, sunshine and 62. Clear skies tonight, a little colder at 49. Tomorrow, sunny and a light breeze right around 5 miles per hour with a high of 66. About the same at 70 Thursday, and we'll have some clouds most of the day except a very low chance of sprinkles in the evening. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Ready to save big on the #1 selling car brand in the world? It's Ready, Set, Go time at Panama City Toyota, where you'll get 2.99% APR plus 90 days until you make your first payment on a new Camry. Get 2.99% on the sporty Corolla, ready for 2.99% on a new RAV4, and get 2.99% on the Taft Tundra. Wherever life leads, there's a Toyota for you, right here at Panama City Toyota.
Offer expires April 1st. For details, visit PanamaCityToyota.com.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn Haven, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. And a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. And now, the Afternoon Delight debrief with the 3 degenerates from the Inside Drive.
Some of the people who attended the record cold Chiefs playoff game in January had to undergo amputations.
Afternoon Delight.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Skyrockets in flight.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Posted on my Facebook page yesterday, but we'd love to see if anybody wanted to jump in and be a sponsor of the Afternoon Delight Debrief, as we have, with our good friend Cliff Austin, friend of the show, gave us an idea. It seems like we've been doing it probably about for a month now or so, but, obviously we talk about any type of crazy stories, different stories, sometimes sports related, but usually not, and just try to dive into some different things just to, make ourselves feel better, make other people feel better, just let them know what's going on in the world of craziness out there. So if you want to sponsor the Afternoon Delight Debrief, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Facebook, however the easiest way to get in touch with me is, because we'd love to help sponsor a local, or help promote a local business while talking about all this crazy stuff. And speaking of our local businesses, I always want to give a shout out to our studio sponsor, that is Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios, Outdoor Studios. You can find them at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd Street. A little chilly today, but seeing a lot more boats getting out there on the water, and Spanish mackerel is running. You got to troll for them, and if you're going to troll for them, you got to get out there on your boat. If you need it fixed up, they'll come to your dock and take care of it for you, or they'll tow it back to Kramer Marine and Outdoor and get you back out on the water. Or if you're just done, you don't want to fish anymore, they'll help sell your boat for you. They'll take care of all the hassle of dealing with negotiations, dealing with people not showing up, and in this day and age, you just never know with all the scams that go on out there. So let Kramer Marine and Outdoor take care of all your boating needs, whether it's new boat, fixing your boat, selling your boat, all that good stuff. And then while you're there, get you a new truck from Bill Kramer GM. They got lots of new vehicles in stock, still doing up to $20,000 off select trucks and vehicles, again, right there at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd Street. That's Bill Kramer GM and Kramer Marine and Outdoor. All right, David, I will kick us off today. Hopefully it's not a story that you already have up and running, and we'll just keep going until we run out of stories, and we can dive back into college or NCAA March Madness if need be. But we've got Alan Sandage coming up at 11:20, and I can't wait to hear his thoughts on who he thinks some of the top wide receivers in the draft are, which is really coming up not about a month away from now, which is pretty hard to believe. We're rock and rolling. Time is flying. All right, I've been living on this UPI.com website.
It's good.
They just keep updating and adding more stories. But this one came from March 16th. It's again odd news from UPI.com. The headline of the story by Mike Hewer is NY man vows to regain 750-pound 11-foot gator removed from his home.
I thought he was trying to regain that much weight. Like,
ooh, yeah.
All right, TLC, but yeah.
Yeah, the opposite.
Yeah.
The opposite, yeah.
What's your goal? To gain nearly 1,000 pounds?
Yeah, I'm sure there's somebody out there trying to do it. Let's make a show. That's what they do for everything else. But yes.
It's all about the gains, bro.
That's different kind of gains there. But yes, a man who's 11-foot, 750-pound pet alligator. First off, I don't know how you can put pet after 11-foot, 750 pounds, but to each his own, I guess.
Carefully.
Very carefully indeed. Was removed by conservation officials from his home in upstate New York this week, has vowed to regain custody of his beloved pet. Tony Cavallaro of Hamburg, New York, has added an in-ground swimming pool to allow his gator Albert to swim and cool off while illegally keeping him in his backyard.
Where's this feller from? Do we know that?
Hampton, New York.
Just in the wrong side of the country. Because you're going to call your alligator Albert. Come on down to Florida, brother. You'll fit right on in.
That's right.
The water's fine.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot more of those gators to choose from should you want to make them their pet. But yes, he was illegally keeping it in his backyard. The New York Department of Environmental Conservation officer said in a news release on Friday. The alligator is about 30 years old. It is blind in both eyes and has spinal issues, according to the DEC. The agency alleged Cavallaro allowed members of the public to get into the water to pet the unsecured alligator.
Oh, I took a drink at the wrong time.
I know. The story gets better as I read it. I didn't know how it was going to go with the headline, but it keeps getting better. He previously had a permit to keep the gator, but did not renew it after it expired in 2021, officials said. The lack of permit, the access given to visitors, and the alligator's health caused the DEC to remove Albert in best interest of public safety and health and the safety and protection of said alligator, the agency said. Cavallaro Calvario told local media he ran an errand on Wednesday morning and returned home to discover DEC officers, Hamburg Police, and Erie County Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals at his home with various warrants to remove the alligator.
I'm split on this.
I know, me too.
Because I
feel some compassion.
Because of a piece of paper, essentially, because the government didn't get their money. Now, my thing was, all right, first off, the gator's blind, so this man is actually more than likely helping this gator. So if you go into his enclosure or whatever it is where he keeps his gator.
It doesn't sound like there was an enclosure. It just sounded like build him a pool, and Albert had free reign to fill it out.
But if Albert was in, kind of good standing, I don't know, man. For me, that's kind of tough because if the animal was not being abused and was actually being taken care of, then I have an issue with that. Now, maybe not letting people go. You want to swim with a gator? I've got an 8-foot pool for you.
That seems a little dicey, so I could see that. But how long do gators live? Let's find out.
I don't know. Albert's
30 to 50 years.
So he's got
20
more years.
He still could have 20 more years. Not seeing anything. But yes, the DE said it turned Albert over to a licensed caretaker who will care for him until he can be transported elsewhere for proper care. Evidence seized while removing Albert and potential evidence provided by a veterinarian will determine if the state will file charges against Calvario. Calvario, in an online petition seeking to regain Albert, that he was treated like a terrorist, quote unquote, when officers removed him and hauled him away in a truck. I think he's saying that the alligator was treated like a terrorist when he was hauled away and thrown into the truck. He claimed he had owned Albert for more than 30 years and normally renewed his permit for the alligator months before the expiration date. But revised regulations and the failure of the DEC to return his phone calls seeking answers to questions regarding them led to the permit's expiration in 2021.
That's sensical.
Yeah, possessing an animal designated as dangerous, such as an alligator, is prohibited by New York law unless the owner obtains a permit from the DEC. State officials said Calvario did not meet the conditions for ensuring the gator did not come into contact with people who pose a threat.
That's why we read all the story and not just what we want to read.
That's right. It sounds like if he just would have let people not come and pet the gator or whatever he was doing, we might have been okay.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years since the permit expired, so everything was going good there for a while. And
I can see, I 100% agree with that, though, is like, don't put it, just because you want to put yourself in harm's way, doesn't mean you should be allowing other people because, that could be and him being blind maybe exacerbates
I was kind of thinking the same thing. I mean, it might give people a false sense of safety getting close to an alligator that can't see, but at the same time, their sense of smell for reptiles is pretty strong, and he may just snap and get people. But the story ends with Calvario telling WVIB-TV the revised regulations require him to buy insurance coverage and tape Albert's mouth shut whenever he is around people. The regulations also require Calvario to build a fence around the alligator's enclosure to prevent him from getting loose.
Common sense, right?
So whereas we felt a little bad for Albert, and I still do, it does sound like Mr. Calvario was not willing to take the additional steps to protect people and the alligator. And impressive, though, the alligator just stays at home and doesn't need a fence or a shock collar or whatever you want to use. The electric fence.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting one.
Very, very interesting.
750 pounds. That's a big boy or girl. No, it's Albert. It's a big boy.
It's a big boy.
It's a big boy. But
I wonder how he found out if it was a boy or a girl.
Good question. I think the old Crikey guy would know.
Yeah.
Steve Irwin. He would definitely
R.I.P.
know. Yeah.
Punch a stingray when you see one.
That's right. Man, tough way to go out.
It is a tough way to go out, but I'm sure. Got to wonder. I mean, is that the way he wanted to go out?
Yeah. Hey, if he'd probably help Calvario keep the alligator up there, he probably would have went up there and built a fence.
I don't know about that. I think he would have been like, maybe the right thing for you to do if you don't want to build a fence is let's get this alligator into a place where he'll be not just taken care of, but taken care of the right way.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling a little compassionate for the man at first, and then now it's like,
you could have done some more. You could have done some more.
Yeah, like
you had 3 years.
You were standing on the foundation,
Yes.
but you needed to build some walls up there, kind of literally.
Just didn't get the supplies in needed. But yeah, good one there out of upstate New York. You got one, David?
I've got like this little top 10 list of 2023 Florida man stories.
Ooh, perfect,
I don't think we've had any of these been brought up on the show. This is from December 7th of last year. This is from WFLA.com. The Florida man was taken into custody in October for driving a truck that was painted similar to a U.S. Customs and Border Patrol vehicle, but instead of reading Border Patrol, it was Booty Patrol. The incident report states that deputies discovered the driver had multiple run-ins with law enforcement due to his truck and even has a TikTok, not for long, account for his vehicle. Back in October, the sheriff's office asked drivers to keep an eye out for the Booty Patrol vehicle as it had been spotted in several other Florida counties as well.
I think I remember that one because I think I remember talking to Jay about the Booty Patrol vehicle and that he probably needed to get something painted on his white truck for that.
Oh, man.
But these are top 10, though, from last year.
Yeah, this is top 10
I like how Florida has its own top 10 list of stupid things, and they just recap it for the year.
I mean, we just had the Florida Man Olympics.
That's true. That's true. You got to embrace it, right?
I can't wait till we get every state having its kind of own Olympics, and then you have to...
The national championship.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just Florida Man things. Now, the Florida man's got to be good at what the Missouri man does, and the Missouri man's got to be good at what the Tennessee man does. So, I mean, for like the Tennessee people, you can get racing moonshining and stuff like that. Yeah.
I feel like the southern region will have an advantage in that national championship should you go to like the Pacific Northwest. Now, Montana,
I don't know. What if you got like
North Dakota? I'd be nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows what their outrageous activities are. But, I mean, California, New York, I mean, you know, who can get the needle the fastest out of a vending machine like that?
Yeah, hey, there you go. There you go. Who can administer Narcan the fastest?
Oh, we should.
I know. Continue with your top 10 list.
Oh, this one's not a good one either, but Florida woman calls for Sugar Daddy Appreciation Day at a board meeting. And this Florida woman, a spiritual successor to last year's Florida Mistress, demands taxpayer-funded BDSM dungeon at City Commission meeting. A woman took the podium at a planning and zoning board meeting with an unusual request. She was accompanied by an older gentleman. She asked the board to designate March 10th as Sugar Daddy and Mommy Appreciation Day. She says, you guys might not be aware, but Florida has the largest per capita population of sugar daddies in the U.S., pointing out that South Florida has the most concentrated populace of these aged benefactors. Board members seem puzzled by the request.
Hey, doesn't hurt to ask.
I guess so. I think I'm done with Florida stories for today.
I've got another one too because you just never know which direction those are going. This is kind of an interesting one, again, from UPI.com in their odd news section back from March 15th. $3 million lottery ticket spent 5 weeks in oblivious winner's nightstand. That's kind of crazy. $5 million just hanging out in the nightstand. A Virginia woman had found a forgotten Mega Millions ticket in her nightstand and discovered the weeks-old ticket was a $3 million winner. Melina Hill of Portsmouth told Virginia lottery officials that the Mega Millions ticket she had bought from a Murphy USA on College Drive in Suffolk, Virginia, was in her nightstand for 5 weeks after the January 9th drawing. Hill rediscovered the ticket and was stunned to discover that it had matched the first 5 numbers from the drawing, earning a $1 million prize that was increased to $3 million when she spent an extra $1 on the Megaplier option. My stomach had butterflies. I screamed a little bit, Hill recalled. Hill did not say whether she has any immediate plans for her winnings. I feel like if you buy lottery tickets, like you look typically, but I don't know.
Do they expire?
They do, because remember there was that one that was bought at Jacksonville Publix we talked about not too long ago that expired on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
So the people didn't get to claim it. Yeah, they do expire. Like, if you're going to play, pay attention.
That's a good point. That is a good point. If not, I mean, you're just building up the balances for others then in the future. So it's goodwill.
Yeah, right, because it all goes to what? Scholarships, something like that in most states.
Who knows where it actually
scholarships goes. I'll throw some quotes around there, but hey,
scholarships for more business.
There you go. All right, I'll read a couple more as we got about 6 minutes left. This is, again, escaped pig leads deputies on chase in Louisiana.
Oh, here we go.
That sounds about right. This is from March 14th. A loose pig led Louisiana sheriff's deputies on a brief foot pursuit before a farm-raised deputy was able to rope the runaway animal. The St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office said 4 pigs were spotted on the loose in the Dixie Ranch Road area of Slidell, and 3 were quickly captured. The remaining swine suspect, named Miss Piggy, of course, took off running, leading deputies on a brief foot pursuit through a wooded area, the sheriff's office said in a Facebook post. The post said farm-raised deputy Katie Robbins was able to rope Miss Piggy and take the animal into custody. The pig was reunited with her co-defendants at the St. Tammany Parish Department of Animal Services. Authorities are now trying to identify the owners of the animals so they can be returned home. Hey, that's the thing, our men and women of law enforcement, it's not just, the normal stuff we think of. Their job descriptions run far and wide, and apparently if you've got some farming background, that can certainly help with the on-the-job action.
There you go, man. I wonder if you get a little bit of a raise there for having those special traits.
You should. That's,
I think so, too.
I'm assuming the police academy does not come with how to rope a moving pig and probably have to hog tie it, too.
Yeah.
I would think that's all part of it. She probably celebrated afterwards and had a good time.
I wonder if maybe they could have just put like a little decoy out of Kermit the Frog and seen if that would have worked out for him.
Yeah, that would normally work.
Or have Patrick Mahomes talk to it.
Ooh, yes. Yeah, Miss Piggy was a big fan of Kermit.
Yep.
Still is, probably. I don't know.
Do they still do the Muppets?
I think so. I don't think it has as much steam as it used to, but because like in 2000s-ish, they had like a Muppet movie coming out left and right. But it's still around. It's definitely still around.
VHS, baby.
That's right. This one came out less than an hour ago.
Oh, here we go.
Overturned truck releases thousands of bees onto highway. This is March 19th, today, just down the road over there in Mississippi. Beekeepers were summoned to a Mississippi highway to round up thousands of bees when the 18-wheeler hauling their hives overturned. Before I continue in this story, how do you're on an APB with beekeepers? There's all beekeepers, all bees report to. What do? How are they bringing these bees back together? That's a whole nother question I have for some beekeepers out there. But the Adams County Emergency Management Agency said the truck overturned Sunday night on Highway 61 in front of Merit Health in Natchez. Again, this is in Mississippi. Beekeepers from the 80 honey farms in Woodville were summoned to the scene to help round up the bees that swarmed the overturned truck. Adams EMA Director Brad Bradford said the scene was not cleared until 7 a.m. on Monday. This was my first bee catastrophe, he told WLB-TV. He said the bees remained calm during the incident because it was after darks and their hives were covered in tarp. The majority stayed in the vicinity after the wreck and were able to be contained in or near their hives, Bradford said. No injuries were reported as a result of the crash or the ensuing bee swarm.
You know what's funny about, well, I can't say it's funny, but what I think would be interesting is if we talk to someone who was a beekeeper, they would probably be like, yeah, this makes sense, and be able to explain why it is that they do that, and yeah.
Yeah, sounds like they didn't want to leave their hives, and I guess maybe during the nighttime they're prone to stay in their hives and don't go out, so when that all rattled their world, they're like, we just need to stay tight, and beekeepers sound like they got it under control.
Yeah, wow. Summoning the beekeepers.
Summoning the beekeepers. There's something else I didn't know that we'd be diving into. And apparently, if you're a beekeeper, you also have to be on call if there's an incident in your area.
That's a good point. I think one of my favorite parts of that story is the reporter's name and Brad Bradford.
Brad Bradford. It's like a guy still trying to get him on. He's the lead ice technician for the New York Islanders. His dad's name was Carl. One with a C, one with a K.
Oh, wow.
They gave him a nickname, obviously, because that's...
Oh, is it Carl?
No. What was his nickname? I forget. But anyway, yeah, Carl was his name. Interesting cards dealt there by his parents.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. That is for sure. But when we get back, I'm excited to talk to our good friend. He's the sports director up there for ESPN Richmond. He's going to be diving into the breakdown of the top wide receivers coming up not too far away in the ever so anticipated 2024 NFL Draft. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
Your home for college basketball. ESPN Northwest Florida.
March Madness is here. The NCAA Men's College Basketball Championship starts today with First Four. It's Wagner versus Howard. Tip-off at 5:30, followed by Colorado State versus Virginia at 8. It's tournament time, and we have the most live play-by-play on the Panhandle.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, sunny and a temperature of 62 with wind 8 to 12 miles per hour out of the west. Clear skies tonight, a light breeze and cool near 49. Sunny and 66 tomorrow. 70 and some clouds most of the day except a very low chance of showers in the evening with a light breeze Thursday. This is your Tuesday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
Hi folks, I'm Tracy from Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Shopping for the perfect diamond can be difficult, but that's why I've trained my staff to offer you a stress-free diamond experience. Me and my I Do crew have 50 years experience, and we have more certified diamonds in stock at the best prices in town. So if you're tired of high-pressure salespeople, come see me, your diamond girl, and my I Do crew at Tracy's Fine Jewelry, because we don't work on commissions. We work for smiles and I Do's.
We're starting fresh.
Fresh new start.
Locally sourced, Farm to Radio. The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is live and local. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. On ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Excited to have him back on the line as we're about a month away, a little over a month, to the very much anticipated 2024 NFL Draft. We broke down some of the top quarterbacks in the draft last week with Alan Sandage, and we're going to dive into some receivers today, and that is with Alan Sandage. He's the sports director up there at ESPN Richmond. Alan, how are you today?
Busy, but I'm here.
Hey, busy is good. We appreciate you jumping back on with us so quickly, as we're not going to be on Thursday and Friday with some NCAA tournament games going on, but I'm sure up in your neck of the woods up there in Virginia, there's been a lot rocking and rolling, and I'm sure you guys are hoping Virginia can advance in that play-in game. What's that, tonight?
Yep, tonight versus Colorado State. And yeah, my role stops during March Madness, man. I have had a, 6-7 year tradition. First round of March Madness, I am cut off from the world. If it's not basketball, don't talk to me.
Except today, we're going to be talking about some except today, we'll talk about some of these wide receivers. Then maybe if we get a few minutes at the end of the segment, we can get some of your thoughts on who do you think has the best chance to win the national championship, as it's a hard thing to do, that is for sure. All right, let's jump right into it. Marvin Harrison Jr., is he the standalone number one wide receiver in the draft?
Yeah, he has to be, man. He is as advertised. I mean, people keep putting these things on like Megatron and this and that. Let him be Marvin Harrison Jr., but there's no limitations to his route running, 50-50 balls, hand-eye coordination, soft hands, you name it. Like, he can do it all. He even had carries out the backfield. If you wanted to do a collegiate comp coming into the NFL, it's CD Lamb on steroids.
Ooh, that's a scary thought, that's for sure. Where do you think he goes in the draft?
Honestly, I stand by, I don't believe you should be drafting positions that you can find, similar production for later on or early. So like wide receiver, there's a lot of wide receivers that are playmakers. You can mix and match that. You want a Marvin Harrison, but the rest of this class is so deep, you don't need to take that so early. I think he'll be the first off the board. I don't know if he's going to go top 5, though. It just depends on what people want.
Yeah, I mean, because what do you think about like the Chargers at number 5? I mean, obviously the Bears, we talked about it last week. They're going to be taking Caleb Williams. You would assume with the changes that the Commanders have made that they're going to be taking a quarterback. Patriots possibly taking a quarterback as well. They've said Kyler Murray for the Cardinals is their starting quarterback, but you could see somebody getting taken potentially to sit behind him. Chargers are obviously set with their quarterback, so maybe he falls to 4 or 5, you think? And, you know, obviously with Mike Williams and a couple of the other, and Keenan Allen leaving from the Chargers, that opens up some holes there. I mean, I know they got Quentin Johnson from last year, but he's just moving in his second year of the league.
Yeah, Quentin Johnson's awful.
so yeah, more than need. Yeah,
they'll be in the needs. And the Cardinals, I think they're kind of in an in-between spot. They could trade down and find somebody else and maximize their spot. Is what I would do if I was the Cardinals. I wouldn't go for Marvin Harrison. Now, if I was the Chargers, I'd definitely go for Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, he could be an instant impact there, especially with, it'd be funny him being his head coach, Jim Harbaugh, from his rival in college. I still keep forgetting about that.
He would know him best, though.
That is true. All right, who's your clear-cut number 2? Because I know a lot of people are saying Malik Neighbors is the clear-cut number 2, but you really can't count out Rome Odunze from Washington either.
So my clear-cut number 2 is Malik Neighbors too, and I say that because I watched both Penix and Jaden Daniels film a lot, and I kid you not, most of Daniels' film, I was like, yo, who is this? Because a lot of it, like, you know, it's not the best quality, and then you look at it, Malik Neighbors everywhere, and I know Rome, and I love Rome, but like he just didn't stand out as much as Neighbors. Neighbors just has a wide range of film of him everywhere. Vertical, horizontal, any kind of routes and releases that you need. The technique is just flawless. And there's no question about if he can do that at the next level. The expectation is that he will. Whereas Rome, there are some questions about him.
Gotcha. So he's Rome falling in number 3 on your board?
Actually, he was, and then I switched it around.
Okay.
He's Xavier Leggett from South Carolina. The guy's a monster. He's 6'3", 227, and he ran a 4.3 at the combine. Like, come on, just picture that in your head.
Yeah, that's a
6'3" receiver. Now, when we talk Megatron comps, that's a Megatron comp right there. 6'3", 227, runs a 4.3. Just his yards after the catch ability at that particular size is almost unheard of. He might be a unicorn to be that big and that athletic. Maybe an A.J. Brown comparison coming out because A.J. Brown's a big dude, and I think he got limited a little bit in the NFL. I feel like I saw more of him being dynamic at Ole Miss than I did with him in the NFL. But I hope they don't do that to Leggett because he can do everything.
Yeah. You think he goes in the first round?
He should definitely go in the first round.
Gotcha. All right, well, that brings me to your number 4 then on your big board. Who are you sliding into that spot?
I put Rome in at number 4 because I didn't want my number 4 to come off like a homer pick. But the question with Rome is if he can create separation from NFL level DBs, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really look into it too much at the collegiate level because his 50-50 catch is so good, and he's got every receiver on that Washington team was well coached and just very good at route running, and you could tell they put a lot of emphasis on their skill. And so I'm not trying to demote him, but speed is something that you can't really teach.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have the acceleration necessary to create separation, it's not just speed, because straight line is speed, but if you're not accelerating, you're not going to get separation at the NFL level, and that might make it a little bit more difficult on him. And I would say, I had that same concern with Drake London when he was coming out of USC, and I think he's a little bit more athletic than Drake London. He's definitely way more skilled. So I can't knock him. Drake London went first round, and he hasn't been that bad. It's just his team is bad.
Yeah, he just went to the Falcons, though. That was the problem on that one. But, yeah, I mean, it's a great point.
Sorry, Keith.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We'll get to his boy, Ladd McConkey, here in just a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, that's a great point about Odunze. I mean, being able to get off the ball very fast in the NFL is really what separates you early on in your career. And guys like Malik and Marvin Harrison have shown to be able to do that from many different lineup positions out there on the line of scrimmage. And obviously, Rome's a great 50-50 ball catcher. But who do you got next? And I really like that Leggett pick as well. You haven't heard a lot of guys talk about that. But a guy that's that big of a freak of an athlete is going to make an impact in the NFL.
Yeah. In my Leggett notes, I put manimal as the first thing. I always try to have an adjective to start out with to kind of jog your memory. Because what's his name used to do that all the time on ESPN. But anyway, number 5, I put Keon Coleman from Florida State. Again, like I said, I didn't want to come off like a homer, but I saw a lot of Keon Coleman this year. 6'4", 215. There's no lack of route tree. And when I'm talking top 5 wide receivers, you got to be able to play the X and the Z spot, or pretty much anywhere I put you.
Yeah.
I can't have you just be like, oh, he's a slot guy. Like Tyreek Hill, he's amazing. But if coming out of college, all you really have is slot tape, and you would have to run a 4.3 or 4.2 to make it on my list of you need to be one of the top 5 guys off the board, because size matters too. Like most of these guys are 6 foot or higher. I mean, Marvin's 6'4", Leggett's 6'3", Rome is 6'3", and Keon's 6'4", and they're all running sub 4.4s or barely a 4.5, and they've all got, except for Rome, plenty of film on them getting separation.
Yeah.
And I think the 50-50 ball is coming back shoulder phase and things like that are coming back. And Keon was just a big game type guy, and I think a comp for him is just a little bit bigger version of what Stephon Diggs was coming out of college, and I like his again, the ability to get yards after the catch is really big for him as well. And I highlighted that with his catching traffic.
Yeah.
Really good at catching in traffic.
Kind of one of those guys that when you need a big catch, you're down inside the red zone and you can throw a ball up, like you said, on a back shoulder fade or something like that. I mean, there not many DBs are going to be able to get that ball up where he's getting it. So definitely a huge advantage.
Yeah, and this class of wide receiver, man, think about the average DB is probably, 5'9", 5'10"?
Yeah.
The average receiver in this class is like 6'1", probably, and then at the very top, like I said, the guys I'm talking about is 6'3", 6'4".
It's terrifying.
Like just the physical advantages that they already come in with will make them crazy targets.
Well, and let alone you can't put your hands on anybody anymore in the NFL, giving more an advantage to these guys who already have just straight up in height, 4, 5, 6 inches in height difference. And typically when you're tall like that, your arms are very long as well. So just scary thought for a lot of these DBs in the NFL coming up. Who do you got next on the big board?
So I just put honorable mention. Yeah, I put honorable mention Xavier Worthy and Ladd McConkey. Just 2 guys, I think, just because of their physical traits, they'll be less enticing to go early off the board, and early first round capability. Like Ladd's 40 time was off the charts, way better than I thought he would be. And then I saw him at the Senior Bowl. His one-on-ones are great, but he's not a guy you're going to put on the outside too much.
Yeah.
That obviously will knock him a little bit. And then Xavier Worthy is Devontae Smith all over again. Like he's Devontae Smith without Devontae Smith's production, though, because Smith was unstoppable at Alabama.
Yep.
Literally could not be stopped. And he came in, everybody's like, he's built like a middle schooler. And that's Xavier Worthy, but he doesn't have that body of work that Smith has.
Gotcha.
So I think they'll both get looked at. I think Mitchell is his last name for LSU. He'll probably get some looks, but he's kind of soft. And again, that's on film. It's not a knock, but he doesn't want to catch across traffic and things like that. And there's just a couple other guys like you could plug and play. Anybody from Washington would be a good pickup, even in the later rounds. They're just all very skilled guys.
And speaking of Alabama, you're talking about Devonta Smith. What about a guy like Jermaine Burton coming out? What do you see him doing in the NFL?
I can see Burton doing some work in the NFL, but he didn't strike me as a true game changer. You know, when you talk about Harrison and these guys, I feel like they're more a game changer.
Yeah.
Burton and again, it could be because he didn't have the quality of quarterback that a lot of people have. But Kyle McCord is not good either. But I still got Marvin Harrison with almost 1,400 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
He stood out still, you know.
Yep.
I just have some issues with Burton, and I think there's some people who are saying he has character issues. I haven't looked into that. You know, that stuff always floats around this time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what they said about C.J. Stroud on the test that he took, and he only ended up making the playoffs and being the offensive rookie of the year. So, yeah, you can never put too much into some of that stuff you hear, that's for sure. But can you say one of the deeper wide receiver classes in the last several years of the draft?
Yeah, I think so. Because we got a lot of teams that want to do some gadget guys, and they've got plenty of gadget guys in here. Even Troy Franklin and Devontae Walker from North Carolina, Franklin's from Oregon. They're two guys you could throw in gadget-wise. Now, I will say my man Walker from North Carolina, he can't catch to save his life, even in the drills. He's got hands issues. He's a Vontez Scantley out there, but yeah. You got plenty of guys. Even if you look at mock drafts, most of these guys, you got to go all the way down to probably the number 20th receiver before you see somebody projected after the 4th round.
Yeah, there you go. So it's going to be a wide receiver-rich class, that's for sure. Alan, we appreciate you diving into that. Since you said when we started the segment that typically this time of year you are college basketball and college basketball only, let me get some some high-level thoughts on the tournament. You know, do you think UConn can go back-to-back and win a national championship? I'm going to dive into some more stats in our last segment, but who do you like, in your opinion, as the best chance to make a deep run in this tournament?
So all my friends are picking on me because I said I like Wisconsin to get to the Final Four based off my bracket of chaos.
Oh, that's going against your Dukes up there in the first round.
I know. No, trust me. I've already told him that if you tune into our station at 3 o'clock, my host is going to slam me. He's not happy. But I see Tennessee getting further than what they should based off their bracket, and then UNC honestly is tailor-made for them to get at least to the Elite Eight. UConn has an easier track until they run into Iowa State, presumably, and I think that's the worst possible matchup for UConn. Iowa State is just
suffocating defense.
They're the kind of team that I feel like would give them a problem. They're a healthier version of Houston, and I feel like if Houston was healthy, they would give UConn some problems. And you got to think this UConn team isn't a seasoned team. Like this, they lost a lot of their production last year from that tournament team. So even the idea of them repeating, we kind of have to look at this as this is a brand new team. Whereas a lot of times when we see repeating programs, they're guys that are like the Florida teams when they had their little dynasty.
It's basically
there
the
was
same
carryover.
group. Yep.
The only real carryover here is their coach.
Yep.
So he can rah-rah, but we don't know how these guys are going to perform in this tournament because, again, when the lights get bright, they don't have the young man that they had last year at guard to come out and save them. Like, he went crazy from their Big East tournament all the way through the entire NCAA tournament. That I forget his name, but the guard that they had was going from 16 to 27 a game. So, they have star power. But again, they're really young, so it's hard to really, for me, to back them to repeat with a fresh, brand new team.
Yeah, definitely. But obviously they're one of the few seeds. Again, at conference tournament championships, we talked about it at length yesterday, just don't seem to matter for the selection committee. And I'll point to Auburn directly as having just a very solid run in that SEC tournament, and obviously beat a Florida team that had an injury early on and staying in that numbers 4 seed, and then potentially having a matchup in the Sweet 16 16 against a UConn team versus, like you were saying, down there in the West bracket. I think North Carolina's definitely got a little easier path, that's for sure. But any teams that come to mind, I know you mentioned Wisconsin as a 5 seed making a deep run. Is there anybody else that some of our listeners, we're doing a big bracket here for ESPN Northwest Florida, that should be looking at it potentially making some kind of run?
Yeah, I would say keep an eye on McNeese State, because their bracket could shape up to really give them some benefits as well. It's not out the realm of possibility that Samford could beat Kansas. Kansas
was
if Kansas isn't healthy. Yeah, if Kansas isn't healthy, they're going to have issues. And then also, before we go, if I could say that we just need to all come together, get rid of committees, go back to the computers. This is happening in basketball, the same thing that happened in football. So I'm not saying this as a Florida State fan and I'm bitter. I'm saying this as the metrics that people use, air quotes, to make these decisions are not really getting used.
Yeah.
For the entire season, we've been talking net. It's been beating our head. Lenardi came down here to freaking Richmond, and he's on our sidelines talking about, well, they're only like 70 in the net, so they got to win to get in. And Indiana State is number 29 in net, and they're out of the tournament.
Snubbed. Absolutely.
So just stop lying to us. Just go back to the computers, because it's not about the metrics. It's about whoever's got the most money and clout.
Yep, no doubt. Just like everything else, that's for sure. I mean, and if the computer does it, then you can't. If the computer does what it does, it's programmed to do that. With all these other things, like you were saying, it's biased, and you can see it. And you can especially see it in this tournament bracket. But
I hated BCS, and look at me praying for it to come back.
Yeah, praying for it to come back. Yes,
what a world.
It changes quickly, and we continue to expand on playoffs and NCAA tournaments before we even got to the year where the expansion started. So. You just, you never know. But, Alan, we appreciate your time. As always, I know you're a busy man up there, and continued luck, and hopefully all those schools, and maybe Wisconsin will take down the Dukes and make a little run for you up there.
Oh, yeah, if they do, man, I'm talking cash money. Y'all tune in.
There you go. That's Alan Sandage. He's the sports director up there at ESPN Richmond. You guys are listening to The Inside Drive. We'll be back for our final segment of this Tuesday.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Your exclusive home for March Madness.
And it goes for the win!
We'll bring you every game live.
It's a 3 to tie it!
It's the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament, college basketball's premier event, and it's all right here.
And the dream is alive!
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
The dream, yes!
Are you hungry for authentic Mexican cuisine? Then come to El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, where we serve up the freshest, most flavorful dishes on the beach. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, a great location, comfortable atmosphere, and happy hour from 3 to 7. Buy one, get one free, regular margaritas and 12-ounce house drafts. And you're going to love their lunch specials Monday through Friday from 11 to 3. Plus live music Wednesdays and Saturdays starting at 5:30. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, Thomas Drive across from the Navy base. ESPN Northwest Florida is an active member of the Panama City Beach Chamber. We want to introduce the newest members to the Beach Chamber. BFG Productions, PCB, Bones Heating and Cooling, Custom Granite Kitchens and Baths, Kelly Deanna Designs, On Harrison Accounting and Consulting Services, Performance Food Service Valdosta, Premier Coast Advisors, and Snelling Staffing Services. Congratulations from the only local sports talk station, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Getting your biggest tax refund from Jackson Hewitt can lead to some spirited reactions.
Jackson Hewitt!
Jackson Hewitt is so sure they'll get you your biggest refund that if they don't, you get your money back plus $100.
Jackson Hewitt!
Switch to Jackson Hewitt and we'll beat what you paid last year, even if you filed online. Ain't nothing to it. Switch to Jackson Hewitt and pay less for tax prep, guaranteed. Proof of prior year payment required when filing. New clients only at participating locations through April 7th. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
From the Auburn Sports Network, Alpha Insurance presents Auburn Sports Today. Here's Brad Law.
It is game day for Auburn baseball in Montgomery. Butch Thompson's team tangles with South Alabama. They play great at their park. Played them in Montgomery, so that makes it a little different, but a good balance of left and right-handed ball club. Guys that have absolutely done it offensively and pitched it. This was a club that was receiving votes for the top 25 here a couple of weeks ago, so I think they had a slower weekend like us, so we're both licking our wounds walking into Montgomery and both very, very interested and getting after it and coming back and finding the win column. So, but historically, there have been great matchups, played a bunch of games against these guys, and we always get their best.
Tonight's game between the Tigers and Jags starts at 6 o'clock. You can watch it on War Eagle Plus. Listen to radio coverage starting at 5:45. Men's basketball coach Bruce Pearl after the Tigers clinched their third SEC tournament championship Sunday.
I'm so happy for the kids. I'm so grateful to the Auburn family. Nashville turned into Tiger Town. I mean, it was just incredible. We put a call out, to try to either watch church online or go to early church and come on up the road, and they sure did. And they were treated to some really good basketball. Our kids played really hard all weekend long, made it really hard for Florida to score, and I think we were a worthy champion.
Pearl and the Tigers fly west today to Spokane, where they'll take on Yale in the first round of the NCAA tournament Friday afternoon. Until tomorrow, I'm Brad Law for Auburn Sports Today.
For the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley.
This man is destroying golf.
Broadcasting live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios.
You may be right, but our ratings are up and we're attracting new youthful sponsors.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida on this little bit coolly, chilly start to our first day of spring, but warming right back up into the 60s, and it'll be back in the middle 70s by the end of this week. So hopefully you're enjoying spring break here in Bay County. If you're out of school, if you traveled, or you're visiting with us, we appreciate you tuning in to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. It's only one time of the year that we can talk about this stuff, so I want to dive into a little bit more. We're talking about data, statistic, trends, NCAA. The only reason I'm doing this is to try to make you think a little bit harder about your bracket and just some trends and some rules and some different things. So the first thing, I'll just continue on what I was talking about earlier with USA Today, just a couple quick more fun facts. If you're looking at number of teams, again, this is 1985, 38 NCAA tournaments on the men's side of things. The number of teams that have moved on to the Sweet 16 from that seed. In the last 38 years, there has been 0 16 seeds that have moved on to the Sweet 16. All 128 number one seeds have moved on to the Sweet 16. That did not all of them have moved on, but 84% of that number one seed does move on. So take that into consideration when you are moving your players or your teams along in the bracket into the Sweet 16 out of that round of 32. So only 16% of those number one seeds do not go on to make it to the Sweet 16.
There you go, man. We'll see how it plays out this year. I mean, it seems like we have some strong number one seeds. I liked how Alan talked about North Carolina. Their path does look a little easier than maybe some of the other number one seeds there. But UConn, and I don't care if they ain't got the same roster. They look dangerous.
Yeah, so if Auburn does what they need to do, that UConn-Auburn game in the Sweet 16 could be a good one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Number two seeds moving on to the Sweet 16 in the last 38 years, 63%. 95 total of those those teams have moved on, whereas on the other side of things, you have had 4 teams in the last 38 years move on to the Sweet 16 as the number 15 seed. So even the number 2 seeds, only 63% of the time move on to that coveted coveted Sweet 16 spot. Dropping down to the number 3 seeds, almost a 50-50 shot, which is actually a little bit surprising to me. 80 out of the, I don't know exactly what the total number of teams are. It probably says it above here that have made it, but only 65% of the number 3 seeds, or 53, sorry, I was looking at another graphic, only 53% of the number 3 seeds in the NCAA tournament move on to the Sweet 16, whereas on the flip side of that, you've had 22 teams, that's 1% of the number 4 seeds there, actually, or the 14 seeds, so less chance as a number 14 seed, according to the statistics and the data, than a number 15 seed to move on to the Sweet 16. And it's an interesting deviation there, that's for sure. So again,
shout out St. Peter's for that.
Yeah, for making that happen. But
which I don't think that they've got a shot against Tennessee after doing a little bit of research on that.
It really lives Dalton Connect, and then I forget his last name, Ziegler. Yeah, if those guys are on fire, Tennessee's a tough team to beat, that's for sure.
But they're actually they're kind of led by their defense. Tennessee is, and they have that offensive output. St. Peter's is, for them to win that game, it has to be a knock them out, drag them down type of a game, because they don't have the great offensive output.
They can't go toe-to-toe with Tennessee on the offensive side of things. Yeah, that's for sure. But when you're building your brackets, 53% of those number 3 seeds are going to move on to the Sweet 16, so keep that. I mean, if you want to follow and just stick with the trends, it sounds like it gives you your best statistical opportunity to have a good bracket.
Yeah.
Number 4 and number 13 seeds, 47% of the time, so less than half of the time, number 4 seeds have made it to the Sweet 16, where 4% of the number 13 seeds, 26 total teams in the last 38 years, have moved on to the Sweet 16. Number 5 and number 12 seeds, only 34% of the number 5 seeds have moved on to the Sweet 16. 15% of the 12 seeds have moved on to the Sweet 16. Dropping all the way down to 29%, you've had the 6 seeds move on to the Sweet 16. On the 11th seed, 17%, 26 total teams in the last 38 years have moved on. So a little bit, that's actually, as the lower seed out of all the matchups, the 11 seed as the highest percentage statistically to move on to the Sweet 16 out of all the underdogs in those matchups, because the number 10 seed actually has only done it 16% of the time, where the number 7 seed has done it 19% of the time.
Dude, and there's some good 11 seeds. Starting it off with Duquesne, North Carolina State, Oregon, and then New Mexico, which New Mexico might be the surprising one, and they get to kind of start it off against a team that's been struggling this year, at least inconsistent, in the Clemson Tigers.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, those 11 seeds, I mean, they have a better. If you're doing this from a statistical analytics standpoint, you're better off pushing an 11 seed into the Sweet 16 over a 10 seed, over a 12 seed, and even over a 9 seed. The 8-9 seed matchup is interesting. Only 11% of the 8 seeds move on to the Sweet 16, and only 5% of the 9 seeds move on to the Sweet 16 as well. So it looks like the whole point of that exercise, those 11 seeds may carry just a little bit more weight from a pure statistical looking at the data from the last 38 years. But there's
some really good 8-9 games too.
Yeah, the 8-9s are going to be fun. Here's another one. This was put up by DraftKings yesterday, and this is purely according to data and trends, which we're living in that world at the moment. But UConn, Purdue, or Houston will win March Madness, according to data plus trends. But first, we have to eliminate the other 65 teams. They say, let's dive into it. First rule, no team west of Texas has won the title since 1997. That eliminates 16 schools right off the jump, so we're quickly down to 52 teams remaining. No team, this is rule number 2, no seed higher than 8 has made it to the championship game, ever. That eliminates 27 schools that are either in or east of Texas and a 9 seed or higher. Quickly down to 25 schools left. Rule number 3, the last 19 champions have been ranked in the top 12 of the AP poll in week 6. Sure, we could have started here, but this defeats the purpose of this exercise. That brings it down to 9 schools eligible to win the national championship. Rule number 4, 18 of the last 21 champions have had Ken Palm rankings in the top 20 of adjusted offense and top 40 of adjusted defense. This just knocks out Kansas and Baylor. We're down to 7 schools: Purdue, Houston, UConn, Marquette, Creighton, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Rule number 5, 20 of the last 21 champions are either UConn or top 3 in the Ken Palm rankings entering March Madness. That leaves us with just Purdue, Houston, and of course, UConn. Bonus, if you think UConn can do something that's just happened once in the last 50 tournaments, back-to-back titles, or Purdue can avoid an upset, lost to a 16, 15, and 13 seeds in their last 3 appearances, you might just want to rock with the Houston Cougars.
And then we can eliminate Houston by only scoring 41 points in the conference championship. So there will not be a champion this year.
So, by ergo, Iowa State is your national champion.
There you go.
Hey, you heard it here first.
I mean, I think Iowa State could make that run. I do think that it's going to be a team that's kind of not on the radar, and I'm halfway through the first round now on my picks. I'm doing my due diligence on this one, and then the wild and wacky ones. Probably do a coin flip one live on the air.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be good. That'd be good. This is one more, and then I'll get into the odds to win the national championship for about the top 10 teams or so, which is based on Vegas, which is completely different from what we're talking about. But this was another thing from DraftKings. You're not going to be able to see it, but you can visualize it. They have an image posted, and it says, this image contains 1 million dots. Now imagine each dot pictured out of these 1 million dots has 1 million dots within itself. That gives you 1 trillion dots. We would need 9.2 million new images of this many dots to get to that 9.2 quintillion dots. Do you know what 9.2 quintillion is, David? That is the chance. You have a 1 in 9.2 quintillion chance of a perfect bracket.
Yeah, I feel like I just looked at the sun with all those dots I was picturing.
A lot of dots there. You look up there, you got to wear sunglasses. But yeah, a 1 in 9.2 quintillion chance of the coveted perfect bracket.
Well, we're knocking those odds down because the perfect bracket's happening this year.
There you go.
I'm not saying I'm having it. Someone is.
Right here on ESPN Northwest Florida making that happen. Your odds on, according to this, I'll just live in the DraftKings sports book for this one. That's the Connecticut Huskies are plus 360, followed by Houston at plus 550, the Purdue Boilermakers plus 700, Arizona Wildcats coming in at number 4, slightly ahead of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Most books have the Arizona Wildcats a little bit better chance of the Tar Heels at plus 1,200, North Carolina plus 1,300. Then it goes to the Tennessee Volunteers, slightly ahead of the Auburn Tigers at plus 1,600. Auburn comes in at plus 1,700 on DraftKings. You can find them at all the way up to plus 2,200 on some different books. And then Iowa State are at plus 2,000. And then the Creighton Blue Jays rounding out the rounding out number 9 at plus 3,000. And Kentucky actually is right in there in between Creighton and Iowa State at plus 2,200. So
what would you say of those picks? You got to stay within those picks. Best bang for your buck. Let's say you're putting a hundo on it.
I don't want to be. Well, you know what? I've kind of convinced myself otherwise. How about I do this? I split two bets, $50 a piece.
Okay.
Not being a homer bet, but I'm gonna put 50 on Auburn.
I don't think that's bad, man.
There's some shades of 2019 with this team. I think they've got a ton of depth. We talk to Brad Law all the time, and they're playing really well going into the tournament, but they have a tough route having to play UConn in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of even Charles came out and said some things that was a little surprised that they had to go up to Spokane, that a state school like that would have to do that. But Iowa State, too. The more we've talked about them and their defense, they seem like one of those teams. They're in that bracket that I think they've got an opportunity. Some other upsets may happen, but I'd split that into between Auburn and Iowa State. But if I had to just do one, I'd probably take Iowa State outside of your favorites. What about you?
I'm right there with you. I would say North Carolina and Iowa State, and we're just talking about best bang for your buck, not reality.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm right there with you, but I don't have faith in North Carolina and Iowa State. I think that it's just that recency. They beat Houston, but they've had a great season. We were talking about them before the tournament and before the conference tournament. So at what plus 20? What'd you say? Plus 2,200?
Yeah, DraftKings Sportsbooks, they got them at plus 2,000.
Yeah, plus 2,000. Yep. So yeah, give me that.
8th best odds to win the national championship according to Vegas.
I love it, man.
Not too bad at all. We appreciate you tuning in with us today here on the Inside Drive. Jay will be back with us tomorrow. We'll have both. Supposedly. He's supposed to be. We'll have Aaron Bearden as well as Keith Fleming. Afternoon Underdogs coming up at 4 p.m. Y'all enjoy the great rest of your first day of spring.
West Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
We got Bill Allen walked in here. I don't know why, but we always, man, this is